Another way to feel like you're in front of them is to create videos. There are some videos that are like you upload to YouTube and then you share it to your whole client base. I think those are good, but they're not personalized. So we went out and found a company, and this is before the pandemic, called BombBomb, and we created a partnership with them and created 40 quick send templates that planners can use. But this is, again, another complement to your normal service model, but now it's dominant to be able to send a one-way message. And most people aren't getting video emails personalized. They might be getting that generic email that goes out to everybody in a blast. So how cool is it to use a tool like this? It has a ton of functionality. If you want to read about it, go to BomBomb.com/Byrnes Consulting. But one thing I will tell you is in the pandemic, things could be going up and down pretty crazy, right? The market volatility or something new the government comes out with, and there's some change. So think of the question of how many hours does it take to call everyone in your client base? So let's say you have 150 clients. You have to have a 10-minute conversation with them. Well, imagine all the scheduling that goes on, the missed phone calls, the callbacks. It can take weeks, right? And now you've kind of missed your opportunity. Well, imagine a tool like this where you can do that, kind of send one message, customize it. Hey, Bob and Cindy, I hope you're doing okay. I know I know you're concerned about your family, blah, blah, but here's a little something. So you personalize the front and the end of it, but the main gist of it might be the same for all your clients. That's going to really wow them in this environment, and it allows you to get through your whole client base in a really efficient manner. And it gives you reporting to see if they watched it or not. So you can kind of see not only did they open it, but did they watch the video and how often did they watch the video. The last thing I'll say on this tool is if you put in the subject line of a personalized video for you, Cindy, or whoever, the open rates are much, much higher than a normal email. It shows a little, basically like a GIF, like a little snippet of the video without the noise. So who deletes a voicemail before they ever listen to it? And nobody, they at least listen to the beginning, right? So same thing, they're gonna wanna click on to see what they're missing because it's a personalized video for me if it's coming into me. Then what you're doing in the email is gonna be that much more effective because it's a human delivering the message. And it's, you can have some passion about it. You can show that you're really either concerned or you're excited or whatever. So the response rates, whatever you're asking them to do, are off the charts compared to a regular email. It's much more effective than words. And then you're going to have higher results. Whatever if you're driving them to your website or a registration page or asking for, we're talking about clients, but it could be with prospects. You're trying to get them to set up a free consultation, or you're trying to have them come to your webinar. It used to be a seminar, but now a webinar. So whatever it is, if you want to read about it more, go to byrnesconsulting.com and /email. That's a way you can find out more about it. I would also use drip email that goes out to all your clients. So we're a big fan of Constant Contact, but there are other service providers that can help you with that. Segment your lists. I think this is something that we see with a lot of our clients when we first start to work with them, is they just blast the same thing out to everybody. If you can customize the message, the more customized the message you can be, the more successful you'll be. So really start to think about how you can do that. One real basic way is you should have prospects and clients broken apart. But another really obvious one is if you have private clients, retirement plans, and institutions, those are really, probably 3 different messages that you're usually sending out to them. But the more refined you get, the more powerful your messaging can be. So think about how to do that. And then in the email, have 3 little vignettes, or at least 2 different little sections that they can click on. And then you can learn about what's more interesting for your audience. And your email marketing will get that much better.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the summer and stay safe, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.